What's going on, everybody? Paddle and Fin has got a meetup going down October 16th through 18th at Eastport Marina and Resort in Alpine, Tennessee, which falls right on Dale Hollow. What we're going to be doing is just hanging out, fishing. Depending on the number of people that show up and the interest, we may do a small tournament. We will have some stuff to give away. Saturday evening, we're going to do a hangout and a little barbecue action. We'll have food for everybody. If you're looking for lodging, you could stay right at the resort. It's $50 per person per night. And what you get is your own personal bedroom on a houseboat, luxury houseboat, courtesy Eastport Marina. That's a special price they gave us to lend to our listeners. If you want more info on the resort, you can go to eastport.info and their website will pop up there. You'll see all the houseboats and things like that. A majority of our hosts are going to be there, and we would love to spend some time on the water with you.
This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Bass, Kayak, and Beer segment on the Paddle and Fin Network. It's your host Armando Solan, and on this segment, we kick back with a special guest and talk about life, kayak fishing, and the pursuit of big bass. So get your cold brews on and enjoy the show. Welcome once again, guys, to the Bass, Kayak, and Beer segment on the Paddle and Fin Network. We have a special guest for today. And first of all, before we start, I want to give a shout out to all of you out there listening. I've gotten a lot of feedback on my latest episode with Sam Jones of South Mountain Media about making it in the fishing industry. I really appreciate you guys giving me your feedback. I love it. I know a lot of you liked it out there. So, you're always welcome to hit me up on my Instagram account, Bass, Kayak, and Beers, on Facebook, Bass, Kayak, and Beers, or my email, basskayakandbeers@gmail.com. This show is for you guys. If you guys love it and enjoy it, if you have any ideas that you want to listen to, any content creators, tournament anglers, or anybody in the kayak fishing industry that you want to listen to and get to know more, give me a shout out. Let me know. Glad to make it happen if I can. And again, this show is for you guys. So sticking with the social media and the content creator that we talked on the last episode, Sam Jones, I got a very special guest, one of my favorite content creators, and one of the guys that I've been following on Instagram, a fellow Texas native here. Sad news, he's moving, but I'll let you tell you more about that. But I got Tarrence Gordwin from Pond Boys. How you doing, man?
Good, man. I can't complain. Thanks for having me on the show. I think what you're doing is freaking awesome. Got a great voice, man. So I think that's going to be really cool. But yeah, thanks again for having me on the show. And I look forward to letting these guys know a little bit about us. You got any questions for me, or should I just keep it and start rolling?
Now, man, thank you, first of all, for coming up to the show in your kind work. I've always been told I got a face for radio. So, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But Tarrence, you're one of my favorite content creators, and I wanted to bring you over so we can talk a little bit about you. I know you got some interesting life stories that you want to share, and that's usually what I want in my podcast. And also give you guys a chance, for those that are really responsible when making content out there for social media in regards to kayak fishing. I always want to bring you guys on my show because I know we kind of live in a society where, unfortunately, we make people that behave in outlandish and stupid ways, I should say, we make them famous. And not enough is said about the guys that put great stuff out there that help other people in their kayak fishing experience or just enjoy fishing and kayak fishing. So, and you're one of those accounts that I really appreciate what you're doing and the way you go about it. And I really want to give you a chance to talk to you. And starting off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Tarrence, and what got you, first of all, into fishing, and then eventually what got you into doing what you do in social media as a content creator?
Okay, awesome. So this is a great question. I love this question. Every time it comes by, it gets me excited. And basically, me and my grandpa, there was a situation where I couldn't really be with my family when I was first born, so I had to go live with my grandpa. And that's the guy who kind of set the foundation for who I am and why I do what I do. But he was just an amazing person. Like, he was just that guy that I looked up to so much. And I know a lot of people don't look up to their grandparents, or, you know, they don't even really know their grandparents, but my grandpa and grandma were people that I just grew really close to. And he was this old Western country guy, but he was also a pretty, you know, hard A, you know. And I think me and him only got into really one argument that I could think of, but other than that, we would wake up, we go to work every day, every morning, 7 a.m. We were never late to work. It doesn't matter if it was raining, thunderstorm. We'd go up to his shop, clean up, do all the things that he needed me to do for him, and then I could go play and, you know, do whatever. And some days when we had time after church, because we go to church and it was like 3 hours, like, I think it was Catholic church. And I went in there, we'd just be in there for 3 hours, and he knew I hated it, man. He knew. And so after each time, we'd either go get fish or we'd go fishing. So he'd take me fishing, and for some reason I can remember this vivid memory of him. I don't know who it is. For some reason, I'm at the end, or I'm at the beginning of the dock, and it's me and him at the end of the dock. And we're just like dangling our feet at the bottom, and we're just fishing. And that's crazy. I haven't really talked about this. I might get emotional, but it was just a crazy moment that's always stuck in my head, even after we separated, because I had to go back and live with my parents eventually. And it was just something that we did. And that smell, you know, that feeling of waking up early, you can smell the worms that you're using. Like, you just know that's fishing. And I don't ever remember catching any fish. I just remember it being so quiet and so peaceful, and just seeing the sunrise. And that's just a vivid, like, I'm going to get it painted because I can see it so clearly. And recently he ended up passing away. And yeah, man, it was hard. It was a really rough funeral. It wasn't just a regular funeral. It was like a lot of arguments and a lot of bad energy. It just wasn't what you would expect. So I didn't really get to grieve. So we were so into that moment and all the things that were going on that we didn't really get to grieve, or me personally, because I came back from Plano to Houston to go to the funeral. And yeah, I really didn't get to grieve. So when I got back, I was like, wow, man, like, this still hasn't really hit me. Like, maybe I should just try to reconnect. And I went to go fish. No idea what I was doing. Like, I had some idea that you need a line, rod, and water. And the family that I'm with now, which I'm basically adopted, and we'll go on that's a whole nother story. They had a fishing rod and all the fishing gear already. So I was like, okay, like, is it okay if I borrow this and go fishing? And they're like, yeah, whatever, man. So I go out and I end up just having this crazy day. Like, I catch the biggest fish I'm still some of the biggest fish that I've caught, like, that fast, because it was raining. And what happened was I was a realtor at the time, and the house that I was showing, the house had a stock pond on the description. So I was like, you know, stock pond, like, whatever, man, we're just going to try it out. And I go and I try it out, and I use all the gear and whatever, and it ends up being just insane. Like, the first fish snapped my line. I thought I was caught on a tree. I was like, whatever, like, that's weird. Maybe I'll just, whatever that was, it'll probably never come back again. And I tie it on again, and I go back out there and I give it another cast, and it hits it. And it's this freaking 4.5 pounder, like, just massive fish, like, just built. I couldn't even explain how built this fish was. At the time, I didn't know. I thought it was a freak fish, like catfish or something, but it was this huge bass. And long story short, I caught 4 more after that, same size. Like, I even stayed later at the house, and the guy who let me show his house came, and he was like, hey, man, you know, you got to go. Like, there's no trespass. And I'm like, dude, I was just showing your house. Like, I'm the realtor. And he's like, oh, man. He's like, what? He's like, you can stay. You can keep fishing. He's like, man, I thought you were a trespass. I was like, no, dude, I just told him the whole story, too. And we ended up connecting. And I still talk to him till today, which is funny. But that's kind of the story on that. And basically, I was just trying to reconnect with my grandpa. And I ended up kind of posting it on Instagram and asking people, like, what was going on? What am I doing? And the fishing community came out of nowhere. I don't know if it was my hashtags. I have no idea. But when I tell you this was the most, like, uplifting group of people I've ever talked to, those are the people that got me to where I am today. And they still follow me. A lot of those people still follow me. Like, dude, I remember when you first went fishing, you didn't know what you were doing. You had no idea. And I just used the community as my backbone. And I was never trying to monetize or turning into anything. I was just literally documenting like, man, I'm catching good fish out here. Because I didn't know, like, people would message me like, dude, those are good fish. And I'm like, what do you mean good fish? Like, I just thought so the progression was through basically people teaching me. And that's what made it so authentic, because they saw me fishing and they saw me doing things wrong or whatever. And I'd take the criticism and then I'd apply it back to my next video. Like, hey, you guys told me this, you told me that. Like, I did this and it worked. So we built this strong relationship because they saw that I was listening. And it was benefiting both of us because, first of all, they're getting that feeling of helping somebody and doing what I guess now, which is the fishing community. Like, that's what it's about, like giving back and good energy and positive vibes and all that. And I was overwhelmed with the amount of people that were messaging me, and like overwhelmed with the fact that all these people were cool. Like, these people actually wanted to see me good doing fishing. So I basically, I had a kid at the time, and all the ponds around me were right down the street. So I was able to go fishing, go to work, and come back and still, you know, maintain my family and all that. And it was just really cool. It's just a habit that I got into. So that's how it all started. And that's how, like, the growth started as well, because they saw me posting, like, pretty decent stuff. And I was making them engage. So I guess the algorithm just randomly started working for me. And I don't know, it just went from there. And now it's, like, more it's kind of a little harder because now we're trying to actually figure it out after we have a big following rather than trying to do it from the beginning. But I think we got over that curve and we have so much more to learn. But I adore the fishing community because without them in YouTube, aggressively watching YouTube, without those two things, I wouldn't be able to catch the fish that I do today or like even enjoy it as much because like there's not that learning curve anymore. I got past the line and like there's so many steps that people don't think about that. You know, once you get them dialed in, it changes your game completely. Like, I don't know, man. It's just the passion, and I really love fishing. I can see that I can do this probably the rest of my life. So that's the story on that. But
man, and what I really enjoy about you is you're listening. And I'm like a little kid because that's pretty much the story for a lot of us. You know, just like. Yeah, man, you start as a little kid and then, you know, that passion grows and, you know, you go through life and you kind of forget about it. I think a lot of times and I wanted to touch this a little bit further on the show, but, you know, now that you mentioned, I want to touch a little bit on that, is that, you know, a lot of us, the same story, either an uncle, a grandparent, or a parent that teach you fishing. Then as you get older, you go to that preteen and teen life, you know, even the hormones come into the picture because now you start liking girls. And girls are not into fishing. So you kind of forget all the whole fishing thing.
Oh, man.
And then as you get older, you kind of like go back to those memories when you have your own family and everything. For those that have kids. I don't have kids, but I remember when I moved from Puerto Rico to Dallas, I've said it on this podcast 100 times, not to hijack the conversation, but you know, once I got into surfing, because that's where all the girls liked and all that, then I forgot about fishing. It was like, man, that was my life. So when I moved to Texas, now here in north to central Texas, there's no beach to be found. Surfing is out. So I started doing mountain biking to look for that, you know, kind of like that adrenaline that I used to have from surfing. And that was a little bit similar, but not the same. And then I kind of went back to reconnect with my roots and my family, you know, because I missed them and missed hanging out with my dad. And that's one of the things we always had, playing catch, you know, playing baseball and fishing. So fishing, it was that, you know, kind of like the same thing when you're granddad. It's just that reconnection, and that opened the doors, kind of opened the floodgates again to kind of helped me connect a little bit with my old man. You know, even though he's not here in Texas, he's still in Puerto Rico, and kind of connect me with that adrenaline rush of, you know, surfing, which is granted fishing is a lot more peaceful, but hooking into a big bass is just as much as adrenaline.
It's all
as anything as out there.
Yeah, I love that you said that, man.
Yeah.
And so another thing about this podcast is I'm going to be learning about myself through me talking, because I never really talk about this. And that's why I wanted to do a podcast myself, is because I want to get it all out. I have so much to talk about. And the word adrenaline. So I played sports my whole life as well. Like I was outdoors from birth till today. Like I've always been outdoors, and I thought I hated it outside. I hate the heat. That's the only thing. Other than that, I don't care. But I played football, I played all these sports, and I was good at all of them. It just wasn't where I wanted to go. It was like I liked the competition, and not to be cocky, but I was naturally good at it. So it kind of like there was really nothing to really work for, or really to other things like that I had to work for was maybe conditioning. That was probably the only thing, just stay in shape. But other than that, I was just naturally good at sports, and then I just didn't want to do it anymore. I just didn't have the passion. So I was always thinking like, wow, you see these highlights of football players and it gets your blood pumping. You're like, man, I remember when I was that guy. I remember when I was out there, and I was like, how can I like redo that as well? So it was crazy that fishing came up, and I was already thinking of like, what's my next career? Like, what I want to be outside. I want to be active. Like, what is it going to be my next thing? And it ended up being fish. Like, I still work out too. I still go to the gym, and I'll still fish just because I like that adrenaline. Like, I like that energy. And when you catch that big bass, like you said, or that top water blows up, your heart's going to be pumping just like if you were doing, surfing or something like that. So that's crazy that you went on to that part with adrenaline and things like that, because I was definitely looking for something to substitute that as well. And both of them combined, like reconnecting with my grandpa and finding another sport that I could be competitive with myself. Yeah. And I don't know, that's just really cool that you said that.
People say like, oh, fishing is boring. Says, yeah, because you haven't hooked into a big bass or a big fish. It could be a catfish. Because like once you hook on it, you realize it is peaceful. It is relaxing, but it can be full of adrenaline. I remember I always go back to Manny Ibarella from Skinny Water Boys TV. I had my show, and he had the best quote that I could ever think of kayak fishing. Is like, it's a beautiful chaos, and it's true, right? Like it is a beautiful chaos, because no matter how much experience you have kayak fishing, I mean, you learn something that you think is going to be your next personal best, whether it's for your content creator channel or for a tournament that you're competing. The nerves, you're going to be shaking, you're going to be nervous. I don't care how experienced. Maybe I'm naive because I haven't reached that level, like they say Russ Martin or Cody Milton, but I'd even looking at some of Fluke Masters' video, which is one of the most famous content creators come to fishing. He'll even, there'll be times he'll be shaking when he gets a double-digit bass. So that never goes away, man. That never goes away. So Tarrence, what got you into kayak fishing? How eventually did you transition from maybe bank fishing or boat fishing to moving to a kayak fishing?
So bank fishing was a big deal. First, it was kind of hard to let go of all the people that like to bank fish, because there's so many people that just can't afford to get out there. They just want to get out there for an hour and they just want to do their thing and want to bank fish. So that was my favorite thing, because that's what I did. And then when COVID hit, like, to be honest, when COVID hit, we had so much time, and I was like, okay, all these ponds are pressured. Everybody's on this water. I have like now I'm at this point where people are looking forward to my content, because there's like, now this is downtime. This is time where everybody's thinking and everybody's at home. And this is a perfect opportunity to get my brand out there and to get our message out there, because everybody loved my fishing before COVID. They loved that when they were at home on their computer or they were doing something, they can log on to me and know that I have some fishing content either on my story or on Instagram. So those people pushing me saying that, it gave me an idea, like, I need to get out more. I need to move around more, because these people are going to be looking at me even more and like depending on me even more to make content. So this kayak I was actually looking at for like a year straight, and it was just so out of reach. It was so expensive to me, and like I was already buying so much gear, so I was just like, there's no way. And the opportunity came across, and I was like, okay, this is all the money I have. I'm literally going to just push it in here and then just like go from there and just figure out something else. So I ended up buying a kayak, and I was like, I bought the kayak just because I thought it would give me more access to water. Because first of all, we live in a city where everyone's fishing right now. Like, we have Bass Pro Shop, we have Cabela's, we have Shields, we have all these big fishing stores around us. Like, everyone's loaded up on gear and everyone's out there on those ponds right now, for sure, with the COVID. So that was a part that I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to pressured water. I'm not going to do all this. Like, I'd like to get to different parts of the water. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger on this kayak. It's like the most expensive purchase I've ever bought, but I know it's worth it. And I actually reached out to the company to try to work out a deal, but my account ended up getting hacked. And
I remember that.
My account got hacked, and that's a whole other story. Like, that's how I know I'm going in the right direction, because after it got hacked, everything got deleted. That was so hard on me, but I knew that what I was doing was right. Like, I actually let go when the account got hacked, which was January. I actually went through a really bad breakup, and I was already hurting from that. So I was like, whatever. I'm just gonna take this time to relax and breathe. And I did everything I was supposed to on the account. Like, I had positive energy, so the account will come back to me. Like, or if it doesn't, like, I did the right thing. I'm not hurt because this was just to help people and this is honest. Like, I swear, like, this was just you know the story. Like, I just wanted to post things, and that was that. So when I got the account back, I was like, no freaking way. 3 months of no activity, everything was deleted, and no messages. I had nothing, and I kind of getting off track. Sorry, but
no, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So everything got deleted, and that's kind of when we ended up buying a kayak as well, because we started getting momentum again, and everybody started commenting again, and our views got insane. We had, if you go back to the bottom of my Instagram, you'll see videos that got 30,000, 20,000, like, consistently, which is insane. So from our following. So we actually gained a lot more traction again. And, like, I guess people noticed that authenticity that we had when we first started. And it kind of, like, helped me when my account got hacked, because everybody's like, oh, we know this guy. And everybody pushed, oh, he's back. And, like, things just started. Like, it was like fireworks. So I remember getting that.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead. I apologize.
Oh, yeah. So we ended up getting the kayak, and I was fishing with Weston. I saw he had two. And I was like, man, I've been working on this deal for a year. They haven't messaged me back. Like, I'm just going to invest in them and let them know that I'm serious. Whatever, I'm going to pull the trigger. Like, even if I can't get a discount, I'm going to pull the trigger. We couldn't find any kayaks. Like, it was sold out everywhere. Weston pulls up this one deal. He's like, hey, this is a limited edition, limited color kayak. It's usually 1,100. Get it today for 1,000 right now if we go drive an hour and a half. They actually took me an hour and a half to go pick up this kayak, and, like, I was in love at first sight. I didn't know it was that big, and I ended up getting it on the water and fell in love with it. So the fact that it was rated pretty low on the website, and, like, what I felt of it, so the fact that it was rated really low on the website, like the stability, a lot of other things were rated low, and I was worried about it because, like, it's $1,000, man. Like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of money. Like, I don't even spend that on anything else really except rent. But I was like, that's just a lot of money. And I was like, okay, really scared about the kayak. I bought it, and I got on the kayak, and I was in love, man. Like, I had to actually tell other people about this. Like, I gave a whole breakdown on YouTube of why I like the kayak and everything I like about it. And randomly, just now, it started picking up. It gets like 2.4K views on YouTube, which is like, I posted it and just, like, walked away. I didn't go, it was just to let people know what I feel about it. And, like, I guess people saw that and actually got a lot of views. So I adore the kayak. Like, I love it so much. And I think that's what made kayak fishing more fun too, because when I get out on the water, there's a lot of pride, like, hey, I did this, even the roof rack too. Like, I worked on that, and I was resourceful, man. I just used all my resources, and I leveraged my account to even get the roof rack, because I didn't have a roof rack for my kayak. I was throwing that kayak up there with 2 foam pads and straps through my window. Like, I made it happen. I didn't even know I was going to get the kayak home, but I knew that I was going in the right direction. I knew I needed to buy this. And it's completely changed my fishing and just my content and everything about that. So the kayak was just a big game changer, and it let me know that you got to invest back in yourself. And if you really want something, you can get it, man. Like, it's in my living room right now. It doesn't even matter.
That's how much you love it.
Like, I'm telling you, when this thing got in the apartment, I was like, okay, so how are we going to get to the water? Like, all right, we'll figure that out. But I knew, like, hey, I'm going in the right direction. I couldn't even buy a paddle at the time. I had to go back and buy a paddle because I forgot. Like, I just knew that this thing needed to be bought. And I knew, like, the ratings, ratings were low, the reviews were good. So I knew that I was buying, a decent product, but I didn't know I was going to like it this much. And I know people like the other kayaks because all the features and stuff, but I'm plain, I pond hop. And I throw it on and off my roof myself. I can lift it over my head. I don't need anybody to help me. And I just keep it as plain as possible, just because I was bank fishing the whole time. So now I'm learning a lot of things about kayak fishing and how advanced it actually is, rather than just, hey, you're just on a kayak fishing. So I'm new to the world, and I love tips, and I love, like, information. I haven't even found anybody on really. I think I have like 3 people on Instagram that kayak fish, that really kayak fish. But I'd love to actually find a community that can help me more with like, hey, how to rig it up and different things like that. That's a whole nother part that we're going to work on. So that's kind of the story. I know it's all over the place, but
no, but that's great, man.
That's a bona fide, man.
Before I ask you about what kayak you use, and I know you use which one you use because I watch your videos, but I'll let you tell my listeners. But before I ask you that, I think shout out to I don't know his name, but that bass fishing dude. He's the one that when you lost your account, I'm like, where's Pond Boys at? And he's the one who kind of reached down and told everyone, hey, Pond Boys, this is what happened. Follow him, man. So shout out to him, right?
Okay, so let's talk about Brandon.
Hold up before you, Brandon. What kayak are you using? And then we'll talk about Brandon.
Oh yeah. So it's a bona fide RS 117. I don't know how long it is, but I can tell you it's 75 pounds, man. It's a 75-pound kayak, dude. When this thing is empty, I have videos of me lifting it over my head. I can spin it. I can walk it probably 100 yards by myself. I lift weights too, so maybe that's why. But the thing is extremely light, very stable, and anybody who's messaged, like I've probably had 6 people buy the kayak just through me. And I haven't said anything. I just tell them, hey, man, you see me on the water. You see me talking about it. I don't have any deal with these guys. Like this is something that we really, so I had to figure out, am I going to be like a sellout? Like I'm just trying to get free stuff, or am I actually going to help people? And I figured out, of course, when you first get started, I want all this free stuff. Like, oh my gosh. But then when you think about it, you have to build character and you have to build a brand. Yeah. So when I figured out people were actually listening to me, I made sure not to boost things. I made sure not to post things that I knew people were not going to use or people probably wouldn't like. But me sticking my neck out and buying this one, so many people were like, oh, I was about to pull the trigger. I was about to buy it. I'm like, dude, buy the kayak. Like, I have nothing else to tell you. If you want to do this, if you want to move around and you want to be, quick and easy, buy this kayak. Like, it's just a 10 out of 10. But not trying to, I still don't even work with them. I think they're pretty high up, and I don't know what we're going to do in the future, but I love that kayak, man.
It's a very good kayak.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, 170. I think when talk about the length, I think I'm not completely familiar bona fide, but I think 117 stands for 11.78, 11 feet and 7 inches, I think, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. I may be wrong. But anyway, so talk us about Brandon. He's from that bass fishing dude, right? He was helping you with that.
Oh man, this guy.
You wanted to mention, give him a shout out.
Yeah. Very, very cool guy. When anybody asks me about kayaks, even though I have this kayak, I send them straight to him. Like I don't really try to sell. I love that I can help him or whatever. Because first of all, he's knowledgeable and he's gonna point them in the right direction with how this guy is just solid all around. He's helped me. He was one that looked at my account. He's like, hey, your account's cool and all, but dude, straight up, it's the same as everybody else's. And I got like, dude, don't And it was doing good. I'm telling you, like we're doing 30,000, 10,000. Views a post and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, like I kind of got in my head, and then I messaged him back. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, at first I got offended, and I thought about it, and I was like, you're right. And he's like, hey man, like and that's what you need a friend to do. Like even if you're not my friend, that's the people I want around me that's gonna tell me when it's hard. Like, hey man, you're doing good, you're happy, but this is how if you really want to go here, this is what you need to do. So he helped me elevate my game with even reaching out to companies. He's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you saying? And I was embarrassed to even show him I showed him, and I was just so embarrassed. I was like, dude, this is so bad. Like, it looks like I'm begging these companies. He's like, I don't want to give up too much information, but long story short, that guy just helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Like, when it came to actually becoming like a brand. And he's tried to help other people. Some people don't want to listen, and some people do. And just at the end of the day, when it comes to anything that comes across my table that I can help him with, I'm going to do it just because, one, I know he's going to do it with respect, and he's going to do it if it's right. And two, he's helped me so much. So knowing that I can refer somebody that's going to, always put a good taste in somebody else's mouth for me, I'm going to do it. Like, I know that this guy is going to carry that brand well, and he's not going to work. Yeah, and he's the one who actually influenced me to not work with companies just to get free products. Because let's be honest, products are expensive. Some products are expensive, but that doesn't mean that you need to be working with them just because, they're reaching out to you. First of all, you can get paid. And second of all, don't sell out. Don't just
Yeah,
You got to
that's
put
very
other
important.
companies to work with. This is a long run. This is not a race. And he just, I look up to him a lot. I call him all the time. I'm like, hey, dude, this happened, or what's up? Does this sound good to you? And he'll be like, hey, man, I just got this. And he's just like, he's been on it. And even with the low following, he's crushing it. He's doing everything that I've ever wanted to do. And it's really cool to have another person, especially in my race, out there fishing like I'm fishing and representing themselves respectfully and not being a freaking, moron out there, just like you said, ruining it for everybody else, just going crazy and doing all these crazy things. So that was something I looked up to, and that's kind of why I structured my way. I'm still doing my own thing, but he completely changed my mindset. Like, I even told him, like, thank you so much, man. I can't believe, like, because I was thinking, how can I monetize? Like, how can I become, like, a respectable brand? Because at the end of the day, I was going out there, throwing a line in and catching a fish. But, I need to actually be a real brand and be something that's going to last long. So as much as I love to fish and do all that, like, now I want to actually build a life around it, and not just fishing. I want to be outdoors for the rest of my life. Like, I want to actually do this. So he just put that in perspective, which is sometimes all you need is somebody just to let you know, hey, you're like 20 miles away and you're making shit or making things happen. And it's just like, hey, dude, I can do it too. So we even had that conversation. I was like, man, I can't believe like this is actually possible. Like, my dream is right here in front of me. So that's what I have to say about him. I really like what that guy's doing.
Yeah, I talked to him even before I started the podcast, and he's really a guy that you can reach out and he won't sugarcoat it, obviously, but he'll say it with respect and he'll point you in the right direction. He makes no bones about it. Great dude. Really excited to meet him at some point. We were gonna do a meetup or meet with him, but he had to leave early last year on a boat show. I may be able to meet him up this year. He's hopefully coming on the show pretty soon. I just spoke to him last week, but a great dude. But again, not to stray away from the subject and talking about you. I know you touched on something a little bit there, and I want you to, if you're comfortable with it, you on the pre-recording, you told me you've had some experience and some challenges, and I'll let you talk about it. But yeah, go ahead, man, because I know you touched on it just now. And I really like where this is going. So if you don't mind, go ahead and tell us what we're talking about in the pre-show. Because I think it's very important.
So one thing that fishing has taught me is patience. That's something that I've struggled with my entire life. Patience and humbling myself, because I can get to where I want, but it's sometimes where I get there and I just, I get a little too excited, a little too cocky, and, life humbles you instead of you humbling yourself. So I've learned a lot about patience and being humble and just being who I am instead of trying to be somebody else. So this story started, I met this kid online. It's pretty rare for me to fish with people I meet online just because people can be kind of weird and they have weird intentions. Just, you know how it can be. But I met this kid and I thought he was whatever. He caught good fish. I think I commented on it. I was like, hey, that's a nice fish. And he was kind of close. So I was like, all right, whatever. Let's meet up. Let's link. And we ended up fishing. We had a good time. We filmed and everything was cool. He took me to another spot the next day. It was a private area. And before we get on the water, he messaged me and he was like, hey, oh no, he didn't message me. We pulled up with the kayaks. He ended up actually buying a kayak himself because he saw me get one and he bought one himself. And that's another cool thing. It's just like you actually influence people. And I sent him to Brandon or whatever. And I was like, hey, like, talk to this guy and he'll put you on. So he ended up getting a kayak. We both go out. Oh wait, sorry. He didn't have a kayak at the time. Sorry. There was a boat. He did end up buying a kayak later, but there was a boat there that he could use. Sorry. So he met up at we meet up at this private place, and there's a boat already there. There's a couple paddle boards, and it's just like this little body of water. Like, it probably takes 20 minutes to fish max. And one of the owners who lived there, there's 6 houses there. One of the owners said that he can fish there, and he's fished there like multiple times. So before we even get on the water, we have full access, which is what we make sure we have is full access. Everything's good, no drama. And that was cool. So we meet up and he's like, hey man, I got a question. And I'm like, yo, what's up? And he's like, hopefully you don't take this the wrong way or anything. But like, I see all these protests going on. And I was just wondering what's your take on, this whole thing, like Black Lives Matters and all that. And I was like, hey man, like honestly, social media has their own agenda sometimes. I'm just giving him all the angles instead of giving him one way, because a lot of people, when you talk about this to somebody else, who's a different color, sometimes it can make us seem like we're trying to play victim or we're like, all these people are bad. But I told him, I'm like, hey, man, there are people of my color that are out there making us look bad, and there are people out there that are actually victims. Like, this is just honesty, and this is life. And he really started to take that in, and I'm like, but there are times where there's people all against us that are one color, and it's just one person's word. And I was like, sometimes that's what can make it hard. And we just go on about perspectives and things like that. And I think because he apparently had no black friends or anything like that to ask, or he just wanted to ask a question, which either way I completely respected as a young kid asking me, about race, which was, it takes a lot sometimes to say that. So I gave him my honest opinion. So we get on the water, and the craziest part about this story is we get on the water, and we were fishing there probably for 30 minutes on the bank, and then we get on the water, and we start fishing. And the first guy comes up, and it's kind of like, so when you're fishing, you can be on someone's land, I guess. Like, you can, like, get out of the kayak and walk on that person's land. That's how close they are to the water. So everybody's, like, on this pond. And the pond's not big at all. And there's probably, like, 3 houses on one side and 3 houses on the other. And the guy comes up, and he's like, okay, like, who do you know here? And I was like the guy that I'm fishing with right next to me, because we were talking the whole time. So I was kind of like, okay, this is gonna happen. And he was like, okay, and he was like, who do you know here? And I told him, and then he asked my friend, and he was like, is he with you? And I'm like, oh man, come on, dude. Like, I just told you, like, I just pointed to the guy. We're laughing, and the kid even looks at me, and he's like, yeah, man, like, we're together. Like, even the kid's confused. So I'm like, all right, man, like, whatever. And the guy goes, okay, I'm just making sure, just checking. Like, people are here all the time fishing with us. And I was like, all right, whatever. So we paddle off, and my friend, he goes, bro, what was that? Without me saying anything, and I'm like, dude, like, it's nothing, like, it is. And I'm the one who's like, it's no problem, whatever, it's cool. And he's like, wow. And then we kept fishing. So I go over to the next piece of land because the guy was kind of mad that we were on his land, which is, I'm a realtor. I know how the water line, like, dude, you can't sit here and control every single piece of the water. It's physically impossible. Yeah. And it's just like, it's a headache to even do that. Like, so why would you do that? So whatever. So he's complaining. I go over to the next little spot because I'm like, okay, I don't want to fish on this guy's land. I'm going to move over. So we move over, and the next guy comes out even madder. I mean, he's stormed about 50 yards to get to me. And he's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing on my land? And I'm like, hey, man, like, we have permission. And at this point, my friend has the guy on the phone that let us fish there. And the guy's like telling us, hey, man, just stay there. Like, this is BS. I don't know why y'all are getting kicked out. Keep fishing, keep fishing, keep fishing. So it becomes to this point where it's 3 of us. I'm telling my friend, like, all right, man, let's leave. The owner is telling us to stay. And then the angry homeowner is like cussing us out and telling us to leave. So I'm like trying to keep control of all situations. And I'm like, hey, man, like, dude, we're going to leave, but I'm just going to explain to you, we have permission to fish here. And he's like, you don't have permission to fish on my property. And I'm like, okay, but we're going to fish over here. And he's like, okay. And he starts cussing. He's like, y'all need to, like, leave the whole entire pond. I'm like, dude, okay, either it's your piece, like, partial piece of land, or you own the entire pond. So, like, which one is it? Because we have permission to fish here. I mean, it's not fair that we can just fish a little corner. And the whole thing was, this kid's fished here 4 or 5 times with no problems. Never had any problems with the homeowners. And he told me this. I didn't actually know that until we're on the water. He's like, hey, man, I've never had a problem here. After that guy came out. So I'm like, all right, dude, like, he's begging me to stay. I'm like, no, man, like, I'm getting emotional at this point. I'm kind of getting pissed off. Let's just leave. Like, this is not good energy. Like, these people are obviously, like, don't want me here. And it kind of hurt, man, like, knowing that. And I don't jump to conclusions. I'm a really understanding person. I'll analyze something before I jump to the gun. And you can feel it. You know it. You can feel it. And you know that you're not wanted because of some other reason rather than a legal reason. So I knew it. And I was like, all right, man, like, we can argue this. We would win, but there's no point. So I'm like, all right, let's start heading out. I'm not kidding you. We're heading out. Another guy pulls up. Towards the exit, he sees us leaving, and he tells us we can't fish on his property either. And there's another little piece of, like, another home over there. I'm like, okay, dude, so where can we fish? And at this point, I'm, like, kind of getting annoyed. I'm like, where can we? And this is, my GoPro's rolling the whole time. My friend's the one that told me to. He's like, bro, is this recording? Because, like, this is ridiculous. He's the one that's, like, telling me to record. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I keep recording. And the guy just starts going off on me. I'm getting closer to the bank, and I'm like, look, man, we're leaving. Like, what else could you say to like, what do you want out of me? And he's like, well, I'm just like trying to explain. You guys can fish here. I'm like, dude, we can't fish here. You all came outside and told us we can't fish here. The pond is so small. Like, we can walk this pond with no problem. Like, what are we doing so bad that like is affecting y'all? And we weren't making any noise. It's all on film. And we, long story short, this guy started to say, like, he started bringing up race, because I was like, hey, man, is it, I was like, honestly, 10,000 people are going to see what you guys are doing right here. And that's word for word what I said. And he said, so you're going to send 10,000 people to me or something like that? He's like, are you making this about race? And I was like, first of all, I never said anything about race. I said, me and my white friend are fishing, and this is how you're treating us. I said nothing about race. Like, I never even said white friend or anything. I'm here with the white guy. Like, when did I say anything about race? I never brought up anything about my color or anything. And that was the point that I knew, like, okay, these guys are like, this is getting real, and I just need to leave. So the whole neighborhood ends up like coming around, like recording, and the whole time we're not saying anything. Like, I'm like, dude, like, I'm just talking to him, and I'm like, look, they want us to act this way. They think that I'm gonna like get mad, but it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna get this reaction out of me. I'm way too emotionally intelligent, and I know that I have a person right here that I just gave advice to, so I can't go out here and just like, you know, trust me, deep down I wanted to rage, because they knew what they were doing, and it sucked. Even if it wasn't for race, like, you still shouldn't treat somebody like that. Like, why did y'all all have to come at me like this? We could have just like resolved it a normal way instead of cussing at me. So it got so bad to where we ended up actually leaving. Everything was peaceful with them, but apparently they messaged the homeowner, and they were saying that we were cussing at them, we were screaming at them, that I got off my kayak, I was walking on the land. I said that I was going to send 10,000 people at him, and I called my friend. I was like, see, like, do you see how this could happen? How easily things can get twisted around without me being able to defend myself? And I was like, now I'm going to send you these clips, and it's going to show you that these people actually got together, and all either they individually lied, or they all got together to make a story that never even happened, just to justify what they did. And that's like a whole nother level of what got to me. And I didn't even want to post it on Instagram, but I posted it, and I had to cut it so much because it's like an hour video. And I had to post it because, like, there's a lot of people out there that would snap, and, you know, somebody would get shot or something would happen. Like, you could tell those people were trying to feed off of their own negative energy. And I was like, it's not going to happen, man. So I sent the whole clip of, we had a lawyer, and they wanted to file charges and all this, because we were in the ride, and it was just crazy how we got treated, and it's all on camera. But I sent them that clip of me saying 10,000 people are going to see how you guys are treating us. And I think that's what showed the kid, like, wow, like, this is real, man. Like, this could have been completely twisted if I wasn't there. If I wasn't recording, it could have made me look like the worst person. And that would make it look worse for other fishermen. Like, this would go on for a while. These whole group of people would hate, you know, and it was crazy that I got it on film. It hurt to see. It hurt me to rewatch it again, and even to talk about it, just because there was that much hate and that much negative energy towards us just fishing. And I never once raised my voice. If anything, I kind of got emotional at the end when that last guy came, and I was just like, I don't even want to talk anymore. Like, he kept cutting me off, and that was on camera too. Like, I would say, sir, can I please? And he would cut me off. And that's like a sign of, dude, you're wrong, and you're just you don't care what I have to say.
Disrespect,
so,
It's a sign
man.
that I don't care about you. I just care about voicing my opinion.
Getting my point. Yeah, right. And I was just like, dude, all I'm trying to do is explain it. And it sucks, man. So hopefully that kid got to see that sometimes we're not always playing victim, and sometimes people are turning shit on us to make us look bad. Because how do you go to sleep at night knowing you just lied? Like, you just had to lie about somebody who was just fishing, who never raised his voice at you, never cussed at you, and you know deep down that I didn't do anything wrong. And the fact that the lady rolled by too, recording, like, trying to play, I'm like, man, you're not going to get me to act crazy. You're not going to get me to get mad and do all these things that you think that you can do. And it was just really humbling to know that somebody can affect me that way. And knowing that a kid, it was two things, and knowing that, like, a kid actually cared about race and, you know, cared about just things like that. So that's always stuck with me. And that's kind of something that reassured me that I'm doing the right thing. So we had 300 plus positive comments. We had over 20,000 views. That's insane to have 20,000 views on 13-minute video about fishing, and then I have 300 positive comments. And then once they started getting negative, I kind of deleted it just because there's nothing negative you could say about the video. Like, and I said nothing race on the video. I said, how do we handled this situation? And I said, sucks that this happened. I said nothing about this was a racial encounter. This is wrong. I said, what do you guys think about how we handle it? And this sucks that this happened. That was it. And I let everybody else say how they felt. And there's 300 plus positive comments of, wow, you know. So that's that story. And
and I appreciate you sharing it because, you know, it's unfortunately a lot of it is just said on social media and the news, and for one side or the other, it's not always portrayed as accurately as it should, you know, on any subject. So it's one of those things, and shout out to, you know, that kid that had that conversation with you, because that's something that I think we should encourage everyone to do. Have that uncomfortable conversation. Ask them, see what it feels to be on the other shoe. Yeah, not everything's portrayed like it's in the news. I don't think there should be a point where you need to pick side. Oh, I'm the side of this, I'm the side of that. It's just reality. This is what it is. You can have an opinion. In each case, it's individual. None of us, me personally, and most of us don't know what it is to be a black man in America, you know, and you can't just judge them by a 10-minute clip or 5-minute clip.
Yeah.
You know,
and it sucked because some people were like trying to justify it. And I'm like, that's when I deleted it, because they're like, oh, you're on his land. And I'm like, dude, if you took land into account of what just happened, it doesn't matter, dude. You don't have, even if you don't respect them, you don't have to say all these things to that person when they weren't doing anything wrong. Like, if you're walking past my grass, dude, I'm not like, you know, hey, I don't even want to get into it because it just gets me so hot and heated, man. And
I feel you, man.
And
I apologize.
I'm still trying to deal with it now, and it's just like I have a kid.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little emotional on it. I do apologize. Because you know, we don't know what it is to be on the other side of the shoe unless you're in it. And that's why I encourage other people to do. Talk to other people. Talk to other people from other backgrounds, other race, and ask them how it is. You know, because it's easier to see it from my point of view, but it's not. You know, it's have that conversation, and a lot of times I know it's uncomfortable, especially when we're content creators, me doing the podcast and on Instagram and Facebook. There's always that fear of, you know, sharing your thoughts and everything because, well, you have a responsibility. But it's something that I think it needs to be said. And again, it's not to pick sides on one thing or another. It is a problem that we're having, not just here, but everywhere. And it needs to be addressed. And I props to you for, you know, standing your ground and handling like a pro, because it's not easy. I mean, how many of other kids we see on that 20, 30, 60-second video going off, and us and other people pointing the finger, look, well, we don't know the whole backstory of it. And it's not easy, especially it's not just one incident. It's going through those incidents and sometimes, depending on the neighborhood where you live, on a daily basis, or, you know, or at least constantly, you know. It's the same situation you go to, that you're going on a private pond, you're not doing anything, you're just fishing. And then because of the obvious reasons, this creates a problem for everybody else that's uncomfortable with you there. And that's not fair. That's not fair, and that should never happen. And that should totally be eradicated and dealt with. So I appreciate you telling us and sharing that story, because it needs to be said. And we need to raise awareness about that. And this is not a political statement. This is a real life story of what you go through, and people should know that. Because if you haven't lived it, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, and I was talking to my mom the other day, and we were like, it's kind of hard, even if you are trying to understand from our perspective, because then you can get ridiculed for, you know, thinking you know. So it is really cool that that kid even asked that, because that I was blown away when he asked me before we went fishing. I was like, I would never in 1,000 years expect somebody to ask me that. And he genuinely wanted to know how I felt, how I looked on it, and didn't give his opinion. He just wanted to straight know how I felt. And it was cool to, take him, and actually it wasn't cool, but the fact that he saw how it happened and how things can be handled rather than blowing up. And we're not all the same. We're not all just these aggressive human beings that social media can make us look like. And it doesn't matter what color you are and you're getting kicked off the water. This is like fishing too. So you show that fishermen aren't all, just blowing up, or we're just trying to go get on water. We have permission, we're not. And there are people out there that are hopping on, and I don't blame them. Like, I understood why they were mad. I just didn't understand why you would treat someone like that and why so aggressively, when, first of all, somebody's fished here multiple times with no problems, and then when I come. So I didn't want to make it such a race thing. Yeah. Either way, it's going to be a race thing because of how they try to, I don't know, make me feel. But
one point that I wanted to judge before you go on, because I know a lot of people might scrutinize this, and just so you know, in Texas, and you're a realtor, you know this, you cannot own a body of water. You can own the surrounding. You can own the access to that body of water. But as far as the body of water goes, that belongs to the state. That's any body of water, even in a private pond. However, obviously, in order to get to that pond, you would have to be trespassing. But in your case, where you had permission from one of the multiple landowners around that pond that gives you access, once you're on the water, you're free to have that access, regardless of your skin color or your sexual orientation or your faith, So let's be clear. This is not, if you're out there scrutinized to say, well, he shouldn't be on private water. That's not the issue here. First of all, he had permission to be on private land because the owner of the land gave him permission. And once that body of water is boundaries with other lands, over private lands, the body of water cannot be owned by anyone. Even, and I did an episode with Manny Varela from Skinny Water Boys TV, because he's dealt with that a lot. He does a lot of like backwoods fishing, and because of his heritage, I'm sorry, I said that wrong, because of his race being Mexican American, he deals with a lot of that too. And we had a lengthy podcast about that, and we dug deep into the laws, and the laws for bodies of water here in Texas kind of ridiculous, which I imagine it's in a lot of places. But I wanted to point that out clearly. You are not trespassing. You are on a pond, which is by definition Texas public land. Public. Anybody can be there. You cannot own a body of water. But anyways, man, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. So once again, Tarrence, thank you so much. We had to take a little break over there for a second, but we're back, and wanted to touch back on the story that you shared with us. I really appreciate it. I mean, a lot of times when it comes to my podcast, I understand that a lot of people do kayak fishing and listen to the podcast to kind of get away from the everyday hecticness of work and life and all that. But there is a time, like, for example, now where we have to reflect on some of the things that we could contribute to make everyone around us better. And I'm really honored and happy, and like I said, I'm really honored for you to share that experience that you had, even though it's an uncomfortable experience and I'm sure an uncomfortable conversation, but it does bring light to an issue, again, not just in the United States, but everywhere. And there's times where we need to stop ignoring the things that are going around and take a moment to own up to them and do what we can, to be either better ourselves or try to make the people that we love and that are around us better, and with kindness and with kind words. So again, thank you for that. And moving along into a lot of what we were talking about, one thing that I wanted to talk about is, I know there's not a lot of Black people right now on social media where it comes to kayak fishing, but there's some of you out there. How do you view, or how do you feel when a company tries to, and I know with the popularity that you reached and your social media following, there has been companies that have reached out to you, to promote their product. And I know sometimes the issue of race has come along. for you, and I want to get your perspective, do you find it maybe insulting, offensive that some company might say, well, we want to use you because you represent the back community so we can, gain, so we can profit out of it? Or do you view it as like, well, they're looking at me, they understand I'm going to attract a certain area that they may not be strong with, but at the same time you see like, well, this is my opportunity to voice, be a voice of reasoning and help out people in my community. I guess my question is, where do you draw that line, or how is it that you feel when that opportunity comes up, where that issue comes up?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that you can take it both ways. It just depends on how it's presented. And either way it's presented, you can take it both ways. But when you really think about it, at the end of the day, you have a voice. You have a way. Most of these companies, they know that now that we're Instagram influencers and stuff, that people like us being authentic and like who we are. So when they see what we post, they know that that person is actually going to grasp onto that. So how I present it should be in my way. And if they wanted to sway in their way, that's when I kind of question things. And that's kind of when I can deny the contract and get offended and all that. But if they give me the freedom to present the brand in the way that I want to, and they just need it posted once a month or once this, and we have an agreement financially and all that stuff, I mean, it's kind of hard to complain because now I can present myself and, what I represent to everybody else, and I put the brand behind my back. So I just don't know where I'm at on that, and I haven't really thought about that until you asked, and I'm glad you did because it can actually change a lot of things for me depending on who I work with. So now I'm in that position to where if I do choose a company, it has to be a company that I represent and that I feel that my followers can gain from. So if I feel that they're trying to do that, it's like it's going to be a no. It's just going to be I can't do it, and no hard feelings. It's business, and that's how some people want to be. But that is a great question. That's one that actually has me thinking, man. And I don't know. I mean, it just, I guess it would just be awesome to even have that company reach out and have that ability to be, the face of that company or something like that. But that's a good question, man. That almost leaves me speechless. Like I kind of don't even know where to go.
And I mean, yeah, and I guess it's like you said, it's one of those things where it maybe feels like an uncomfortable conversation, but I mean, there's something that if I want to be better person, then I need to know how things affect other people that don't have the same background or are not in the same race as I am. So there's always that reaching out and then finding out, how is it that you feel about something and approach it? Because we can be naive. We cannot, just because we haven't gone through something, we may ask or say something stupid that may come across like this is unsensitive. We just don't realize it. And I've had situations like that when I reflect on it, that was unsensitive. And then I think about it, it's like I have to understand what the other person is going through before I, in order for me to grow as a person and help on the other out. And I guess the question is, it's hard in a part because there is also that responsibility where you have a family, you have a child, you have a wife, you need to provide with them. So it may be easy to take those choices where that is not at stake, but when the livelihood of you and your family is at stake, then the choices are very differently and are not as easy or clean cut to decide, I guess, in a way, because you have that other pressure. And that's always something that as a content creator, I'm assuming you'd have to weigh in and consider. Do you feel any responsibility or any weight of saying, I'm representing my community? Does that affect in any way the way you go about your social media content?
So to be honest, I never thought about race when I got into fishing. I knew that the trespassing and all that other things would be an issue, but other than that, when I posted, the community was so warm and welcoming that it didn't cross my mind until recently. I mean, honestly, when people started telling me like, oh, there's not that many black people fish, I look back, I was so zoned in. This is just me being honest. I was so zoned in on fishing and all this stuff. that I didn't really step back and see that honestly, there's not that many people doing this. Like, there's not many people that Black people are doing this. So this is something that's honestly new on my mind, and something that lets me know, getting messages too also from Black people like, hey man, what the heck? This is so cool. I never thought like you're doing something good for us. Like, you're making it look, making it look good and giving me great information. Like, I look up to you and all that stuff. And this comes, a lot of them are kids of all races saying these things. So, but when Black people do reach out, this is when I was like, wow, like I didn't even think about it. Like, I actually am representing them too. So there's a little bit more pride that goes into it. But yes, you're right. I have to think about who I'm working with and make sure that these other companies aren't just hitting. And you're right. You are right that they're not just contacting me just because of my color and knowing that they can leverage that and, make more income off that. So I'm not going to act like I know everything, because a lot of this is still new to me, but that's definitely going to go into when I look into companies from now on, because that's true. I mean, but then it's like, what can I say? Because they never reached out to any other one, so I could be the first to make sure that this goes the right way. You know? So it's like, whoa, like I don't know what to think. But then again, this fishing has just blown up recently. Like, it's been a big deal, but social media and all that stuff, it's like when you do look at all these companies, I don't see them. They're not anywhere. So it's like, how can I kind of get mad at them for like doing that? But then again, it's like I could be the first one to do it. So it's kind of like you said, you got a family. Like, I have a reputation, and I have my brand too. So I have to make sure that what I stand behind, that it's going to be good for all of my followers and all the people that truly believe in me, not just when it comes to fishing, but there's people that believe in me that I'll go further than just fishing. Like, this goes deep. So when you have a strong following, these people really do care about you. And it's like a little TV show. Like, they want to know what happened yesterday. We want to know what happened last night. And they actually become like your little fans. So even if you have 400 or 4,000 followers, those people that are following you and engaging on each post, those people care about you. So you're right, man. And that's crazy that you brought that up, because I do need to take that into account. And I did just recently. Somebody brought it up, and the way that they brought it up was pure honest. It was the first conversation. Hey, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, and we think that we can benefit from you, from your reach, your growth, and obviously because you'll be there's not a lot of people like you out there fishing. And the way that he brought it up, I messaged him and I was like, I have so much respect for you even bringing it up. Like, it's over the phone, man, and they're representing this brand, so it could have came off any way, but he just straight up just told me. So that went a whole different way for this company, and that's something that makes me want to actually work. Nothing's under contract yet, but for this company, that gave me a lot of energy, like good energy coming from that company. So that's just a great question. And I think that'll help a lot of other people as well. Like, this is what you're going to have to take into account, because it's not that that you just need them. That's another thing that Brandon taught me, is that they need you too. So don't be going out here thinking that these people, it's their way or the highway. Like, you have a say in this. Like, you can leverage this how you want to. So great question. And
appreciate it.
I have to think about on my own.
No, I appreciate it. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is now I think a lot for this generation, generation of I guess millennials, you could say. And I really don't know your age. You might fall under that generation. But I know you have something that we in previous generations didn't have, and that's the social media, the technology in your favor to promote yourself. And that's something amazing. A lot of times that comes with a lot of, how do you say this? A lot of naysayers, a lot of haters kind of saying, I don't want to like to use that term, but a lot of people that just are not, don't like that, don't like the system being shaken up in that aspect. We see what, for example, the Google Squad has done. A bunch of young kids all of a sudden each one has the YouTube channel come together, and they really shake up the fishing industry. Where now, instead of going to tackle shops, you can get a lot of it online, and we see a lot of companies, Catchco, which I think is the parent company for Biospawn, I think it is.
Yeah,
MTB. Yeah, MTB, and Carl's Bait. And they rose into popularity and challenged other companies on the shoulders of guys like John B. And some of the other guys in the Google Squad. I know a lot of people, it's like, they were shown on, it's like, nah, I'm not into that. But I think there's a value in that, and a lot of it comes with being responsible. We talked about in the pre-show. A lot of times, unfortunately, some of the more popular, and I'm not saying names, not calling anybody out, but a lot of more popular YouTube channels, content creators, relied at the beginning with clickbait. Stuff that happens. So got thrown out of or got kicked out of a flight, or got kicked out of the hotel. And what I personally don't like about that, that's not the representation of what a fisherman is. That's not usually, like, I'm all for documenting your life experience, your fishing experience, from, for example, from what you got to go through. That was life. That's real life for you on a daily basis. That's totally different from acting up and asking a company, an airline or a hotel brand, saying, we're going to ask you actually to leave because you right now creating a disturbance because of your actions. And we see a lot of them come to prominence because of that. And then that only takes you so far. And this is the point where I want to go, because I know there's a lot of people out there that want to grow in the content creator. It's not easy. You always have to bring new, fresh things. You have to stand out. I encourage anybody to think hard and long about what you're going to put out there as far as clickbait does. Because yes, it'll grow you, but then first of all, I see a lot of them that kind of like upset and frustrated because they don't get the respect from the rest of the fishing community or kayak fishing community. And one is, well, because you're putting out a clickbait. That's going to attract the masses, but that's not going to go well with the people that really are invested in the kayak fishing community. It influences other kids to do the same thing. And when you're out there on the water, the last thing you want to do is somebody hunting for clickbaits and creating situations where it's not real life. It's not what reality is. You know, when you go to fishing, for the most part, yes, you do have your encounters where people have like, no, I'm on this spot and stuff like that. But that's not 90% of your experience fishing for most of us. Your thoughts on that? How do you go about, having fresh content, something that stands out, but avoiding that aspect that can get you a lot of followers, like we said, but costs you at the long run?
So, there was a part where I got focused on the numbers. I'm not gonna lie. I think every content creator gets focused on the numbers, and you get real dialed in on what's getting views and what's not. And I think I got lucky because, not that I got lucky, so one thing I figured out was when I first started posting, I would do videos with music and all these edits and all this stuff. And I loved it. I mean, I knew it was good. So I posted it and it wouldn't get anything. You go out there and post a 3-minute video, no edits, no audio, nothing, and it gets so much views. Like, because people like that old school fishing, they like authenticity, and they like to feel like they're there. So that's when I really switched my content, because that's what I want to do. Like, I don't have to go out here and spend 30 minutes doing all this stuff, because people just want to see me catch fish. Like, they just want to see the fish. They want to see what I went through that day, and they want to see the fish. So how do I keep from being like that? I would say I love fishing. Like, I absolutely adore fishing. I love going out there. I post it on my story every day. People, like, I'll do like 7 days in a row. So people will see me wake up, they'll see me struggle for one day, and then I'll just fish the whole next day because I figured out what didn't work that day. And then I finally find a pattern, and then that's the video that gets posted, the pattern. There's other clips and stuff of me catching fish and like crazy little clips when I find out the pattern, because I'm out there spending 4 or 7 hours trying to figure out what's going on the water. Even if it's a pond, you still have to figure out what they're going to eat. Not every day that pond's going to be on fire. So I would make a whole story out of that, and I think that's what keeps it authentic, and also doesn't put too much stress on me to do that, because it's what I want to do, and people like to see what I want to do. So I think they knew from the beginning, like, this is Pond Boys. The name, I think, is cool too. Like, Pond Boys. Yeah, it is. So many people out there that want to fish ponds, and that's what they do. And honestly, I feel like there's more people that fish ponds and stuff than people that are actually out there on the boat and lake and stuff. But, yeah, I think I just go out there and have fun. Like, that's just what I do. And I don't know. And I feel like even when that burns out, we're going to try to go, which it will. I'm sure eventually it'll kind of be a little boring, but that's when we travel and we branch out and we take risks. That's what makes it fun. And even like, I didn't even want to post that racial little video or whatever because I'm not into the clickbait. Like, I've watched a lot of clickbait and you get annoyed and you know who's a clickbait and who's not. And I completely understand that. But yeah, I just try to go out and just be as authentic and fun as possible. I try to leave in, like I just posted a video where I lost my combo and I lost.
I saw that.
Oh my gosh, man. And it was just like, it sucked, but like it taught me so much. Like, okay, it's a material. You can, back in the day, man, I'm telling you, I would have a full-on meltdown for the whole week. Like, I just lost all this money, but I was like, I had to pay my dues. You know, I've been out here, I've been crushing these fish. I've been, you know, beating them in the face. It's, you know, it is what it is. I can't really complain. And I knew it was going to be good content for people because I was like, even though I looked stupid, it was very sad to me. But I was like, people will see that, okay, I'm not out here all day smacking fish. Yes, the investment I just made a week ago is all gone. Like, it happens, man. So yeah. I just think, like, letting people know what's up and letting them know that you're a real person, too, it can't go wrong. Like, I mean, if it does go wrong, who cares? Like, I was being who I wanted to be at the end of the day. And, yeah, that is another freaking good question, man. You're on. Those are the ones that make you really think because I don't think I really thought about that. And there was points where I was like, okay, should I do clickbait because my views? But you gotta stop like worrying about the views, man. You really gotta put that aside because you don't know who's back there not clicking on your video, who's actually watching it, you know, who's actually like looking at it, and who doesn't know you yet, and they're like, all right, then I'll push the button. You don't know how many people that are like in line like that. And I know it's gonna all catch up because that's what happened at the beginning. I was just being me, and it randomly all caught up, and I kept rolling with it. So I think if I just keep using that even on the slow days, like our engagement is pretty slow right now, but I'm sure because of the new rules with Instagram, COVID, the election, and all the other things, like if you can get out of your head about the social media, you can really be who you want to be on there. If you can just get through staring at the likes and worrying about all that other stuff. So like you said, it's a marathon, man. What are we rushing for? The fish ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So what are we rushing for, man? What is going to change tomorrow? That, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Who's been your biggest influence as far as social media goes? Like, you see, like that's something that I like, or
I'm not gonna lie. So the reason I really even started filming, there was this one kid. There's two reasons why I started even posting. There's this one kid that I know. Called Sam, and he fishes out here, and he would post every single day. He posts a video, and I was like, bro, what? Like, how are you posting a video every single day? And he broke it down to me, and I was like, I still couldn't believe it. And then I went out and I started doing it. I was like, you know, I could actually do this. So that gave me motivation to start posting videos and stuff. But really, what really put it in perspective, like this lifestyle style, would be John B. He's definitely like, without a doubt, when I saw his first couple videos, the production, I've never seen like this kind of production in fishing. Like this, the music, like that, he made fishing so cool, so laid back, so chill. And then he started taking these trips and catching these. I was like, I didn't know fishermen could live like this. So he's the one who put that in perspective of that, hey, you can actually go out here. And he was young, he was my age, and he's from my city. Like, how can I not be inspired by that? So that he was a big, and then I saw Lunkers TV, and then those are the main two that I really focused on. And I loved like how authentic they are. Like, no, not Lunkers TV, Lake Fort Fishing. What is it?
Lake Fort guy.
Yeah. Oh man, that guy is awesome. Like how he gets in there and talks, all authentic and chill and just vibe.
Dangle.
Like, I want, dangle, dude. Like the word dangle, you can't make that guy up, man. Like,
he coined that phrase.
Yeah, he loves to fish. Like that dude, just straight up. And those are the two people that I really took a lot from. And then when it comes to actually being real and like monetizing and being a brand, Brandon, that bass fishing dude. So all those guys together really inspire me. And also Weston Smith, like the way that this dude grinds. I worked valet with him. This dude would go out and fish for a whole day, work valet, edit a video during valet, go home, edit another video, go out in the morning, film, go back to valet. Like that work ethic told me like, dude, this is what it takes. But seeing him like not really like drained, he actually seemed energized to do it. That like just put a big perspective. So it was a collaboration of people, and I was definitely looking for like that little thing too. It wasn't just like it just came to me, but I was looking for all the things to like validate why fishing and the outdoor lifestyle would be really cool for me. And all those people combined made it, made it to where it is today for me. So I just want to pass that along to other people.
Yeah, but that's good, man. And all of those are great content creators. I know a lot of, especially in the more old school and kayak fishing community, kind of like, no, I'm not into the whole Google squad. And that's fine. I mean, the opportunity for a bunch of young kids to come out and make a pretty good living out of it and having their own bait, that concept is cool. So I ain't hating on their success, man. I ain't hating on their success. They're successful. More power to them. I mean, they've gone to where they got, especially John B. I've said it before on this podcast, and listeners probably tired of me saying it, but I have a lot of respect for him. Just because early on he got away from the clickbait and started just making videos of, and dude, the guy's fished all over the world. So, and his editing is out. It's top notch. You're not gonna find a better fishing video on YouTube than his sound editing and his video editing are both top notch. Maybe he pays somebody to do it, and if he does, get his number, because whoever's doing the editing, the video and the sound editing, whether it's him or whoever it is doing a great job. So props to them. Now, buddy, before I let you go, Terrence, I kind of want to give you I want to give you the opportunity to, thank the people that you want to thank, whether it's family member. I know your grandpa is one of those you're going to thank, even though he's not with us right now. And I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there, or some companies out there that you work for and that you want to give props to. So, it's time for shameless plugs, man. So whatever you want to thank, whoever you want to give shout out to, go ahead and do it, man. The floor is yours. Let's hear it.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll keep this short, but definitely the biggest ups is to my grandpa, because he is the one that gave me endurance and focus and all these other things that I didn't know that I needed until I actually looked back on my life. Honestly, the past 2 years when he actually passed away is when I look back on everything and I was like, wow, this man was really that person. And it's crazy how much you take things for granted until it's gone. And like, I know that just sounds so whatever, but it's real. Like, everything does hit you. It's the same. When I had a kid, I was like, wow, I was like this to my mom. Like, I made it so hard on her. So I definitely like to thank him for building that foundation for me, because now I can build that for my kid. Another company that I really want to give a shout out to is Fishbrain, for just being Fishbrain, man. That app has helped me avoid so many situations where I have to give up my location, my secret locations of fishing, because I can point these people in direction to multiple spots rather than just giving them one spot. I'm like, hey, download this app, and you can go on there and you can see if this pond has been fished. People don't even think about this. If the pond hasn't been fished, that might be a good pond. Like, if nobody's documented anything there, that might be a good pond. And if somebody has documented something there, they're going to show you the size, the length, and what they caught the fish on. So you can go in there and literally, like, all your homework is already done. So even when you go to different cities, like I just went to Virginia and I used the app. Like, not even recording, didn't even post it or anything. I genuinely used the app to find a couple fishing spots, and you can find out where fish are. So that app looked at me, and we ended up working together. So I really like that app. And oh wait, my headphones are buttoned back. Okay, but those are really some of the people that I want to shout out. For sure, Brandon, that bass fishing dude, that's a really solid guy. Just for the person he is, I really like him, and he's kind of set up a figure for me to follow behind, and just where to actually take this brand. And that's really it, man. I don't want to put too many plugs out here, but that's kind of where we're at on that. And I'm just thankful for all my followers, for even when we got hacked from our account, and all those people coming back, and all the people that actually stayed with me. I think we're all caught up now. I think I had like 6 solid people that would message me every day. We talk all the time, because you build these little friends, man. Like, you'll talk, you'll have full-on conversation. And they actually got them all back, and we were all talking about, dude, when you got hacked, I thought you were gone forever. Like, I'm updating them with my life and stuff. So I love interacting with my followers. And if you guys want to follow me on Instagram and YouTube, it's Pond Boys. And just thanks for having me on, man. I think you're a real solid guy, and I'd love to come back on here again.
Man, anytime.
Yeah, this was awesome. I was working. my first podcast, so I was definitely worried about all the questions and stuff. But you made me comfortable, and I'm glad we got to talk about personal things on both of our sides, and hopefully we can build something from this.
No, man, I appreciate you taking the time. It's been an honor to have you on my show and talk, not just about kayak fishing, but life in general. You are gonna start. I saw a post. I gotta call you out on this. You're gonna start a podcast, right? When is that coming out?
Oh yeah, man. Oh geez. So the story with the podcast is, dude, you can see right here. I got the mic. I got the headphones.
Nice. You got the Yeti mic?
Yeah, the Blue Yeti. And so Catalina needs to be updated on my laptop, I guess, to actually work this thing. So that's where we got postponed on that. But by the end of this month, we should have a podcast up, and we're just gonna talk about. We don't know a name yet. We got Pondcast. People are coming up with some other crazy names, but we haven't even really chosen a name. But what we're really gonna talk about is fishing and just life in general, and we're gonna try to guide kids and guide young people through some tough situations just through my stories. We're not gonna really try to give advice and all that. We're just gonna go with the flow. So I don't know where that's going, but I know how powerful, even being on this podcast, I'm sure it's going to help some people. And just watching your last podcast, like, oh my gosh, man, I got notes that I was taking on that. And I just know how powerful it is. So we're going to start that up soon and just make sure that we're giving back to our people.
That's awesome, man. We look forward to that. Again, Pond Boys, make sure, how do you spell Pond Boys for those that want to follow you on Instagram and YouTube?
PONDBOY, and then it's double S. Since we got hacked, somebody took the Pond Boys. So if y'all want to message that guy and let him know,
because it was with a Z at the end, right?
Yeah, and he took it.
I remember.
He took it away. But it's Pond Boys with a double S at the end. So PONDBOYSS. And then on YouTube, we're Pond Boys with an S just at the end. So we actually changed it from a Z to an S.
Oh, so Tarrence, go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
No, I wasn't going to go. That was it.
We went down a couple of rabbit holes, but it was awesome, man. It was awesome having you come up to the show. It's again, thank you for sharing your life stories and everything. Hopefully it's out there. My podcast, I always want to bring something that helps other people. Like I said, I'm super honored to have you here. I'm really sure that somebody out there is going to listen to this and it's going to help them out in one way or the other. Listen to your life story. We're looking forward to your podcast, man. Whenever you're going to come here or be any guest of any more segments in Paddle and Fin, you're more than welcome to. And again, I'm really proud of what you're doing. I think it's awesome what you're doing in the fishing community, in the kayak fishing community. I know you told me on the pre-show that you're going to North Carolina. You're going to be moving soon. We're going to miss you in Texas, but wherever you are, man, that's the beauty of technology. We can follow you anywhere you are, and we'd love to see how you're doing with that whole North Carolina takeover, man. I'm sure we'll be glad to have you there.
Yeah, y'all stay tuned for that, and it's definitely going to test me in all ways, but I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for a challenge, and I know you guys are ready for it too, so thanks for having me on. It's an honor, man. I didn't know how cool you were until we got on this, but
appreciate it.
Back on here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. So you've been listening to Bass, Kayak, and Beers. If you made it this far, we thank you. Appreciate it. Remember, Bass, Kayak, and Beers is sponsored in part by Douglas Outdoors. Go check out douglasoutdoors.com to find out their full lineup on LRS. That's their lakes, rivers, and seas. Bait casting and spin casting and bait casting rods, as well as the Matrix, which are the dialed-in high-end rods designed for tournament anglers. Go check them out, douglasoutdoors.com. Thank you again, everyone, for listening. Hope you have a great day. Remember, wear your PFDs when you're off the water, and tight lines, y'all.